by gunmen. A number of soldiers were hit. According to eyewitnesses, 6 or 7 were killed and several others injured, but this hasn't been confirmed by the Israeli military authorities. The bus was taking troops to frontline positions on the Beirut to Damascus highway, where the Israelis and the Syrians are only a few hundred yards apart. It reached the mountain town of Alay, a few miles east of Beirut, when it was ambushed. Eyewitnesses said the gunman opened fire from above a wall running alongside the road. Israeli helicopters flew in to take the casualties to hospital, and roads around Alay were sealed off. There's no word as to who was behind the attack. An Israeli army spokesman has denied a report in this morning's Sunday Times that the Army High Command demanded the resignation of the Defense Minister, Mr. Sharon, in the aftermath of the Beirut massacre. But our correspondent in Jerusalem says authoritative sources have confirmed that senior officers did present a demand for Mr. Sharon's resignation, though he rejected it. The Spanish government says it's foiled a plot for a military takeover. It was apparently planned for the day before the Spanish general election later this month. Yesterday, 3 colonels were arrested in connection with the plot. The official news agency in Madrid says investigations into other possible conspirators in the army units is continuing. The Labour Party leader, Mr. Michael Foot, has said he remains firmly opposed to any form of statutory incomes policy. Speaking on independent television, Mr. Foot said voluntary agreements with the unions were much more likely to last. The 2 young brothers who've been missing for 6 days after going off on an adventure inspired by Enid Blyton's famous 5 stories have been found fit and well. A police spokesman has said that Philip Phelps, who's 14, and his 9-year-old brother, Andrew, were rather bedraggled. And finally, at the end of the 3rd day of the Commonwealth Games in Brisbane, England had won a further 6 gold medals. This means that England now leads the medals table with 14 golds, 1 more than Australia. That's the news for now. More on your Radio 2 at 10 o'clock.
Ladies and gentlemen, BBC Radio Light Entertainment presents the Light Entertainment Show, celebrating 60 uproarious years from 2LO in 22 to VHF in 82. And now, please welcome your host for the evening, Roy Hudd.
Thank you very much. Good evening, folks, and welcome to this gala night, which should do for Radio Light Entertainment what Attila the Hun did for Tupperware parties. Well, tonight we're celebrating 60 years of radio comedy, and you'll see more stars on this stage than there are in Britt Eklund's diary. That's a lot of names, folks, yes. We've got a great bill tonight. Well, actually, it's a final demand, but who cares? Because tonight we celebrate 60 years of jolly japes, 60 years of send-ups, wind-ups, and cockney humour. You know, when we were getting the script together for tonight's show, just to make sure all the dates were right, we checked everything from old copies of the Radio Times, because that's been going for nearly 60 years as well, you know. And honestly, some of the stuff in them, well, I've written a few bits down here. Now, here's the first edition ever. It covered the week starting September the 30th, 1923. And do you know the biggest surprise of all? There was no Jimmy Young show. He must have been on holiday. It cost 2pence and was subtitled The Official Organ of the BBC. I always thought that was Sandy McPherson. Or even Tom Jones. Or perhaps Richard Wilcox, we'll never know. The very first Radio Times. It even had its own page 3. A topless woodcut of Lord Reith. Mind you, the best things in this first edition are the adverts. Now, how about this one for a book? This is an advert. And this, I promise you, Mrs. Whitehouse, is absolutely true. The facts of life presented to men. Yes. And there's chapters on good men and moral women, preventive measures or self-restraint, vice versus virtue, and the folly of incontinence. Well, I'm still waiting for my copy. If only for the article on self-restraint. And all of us fellas are going to need that right now, because getting our show off to a roaring start are 3 lovely ladies with a song from the Roaring Twenties. That first edition of the BBC's organ might well have billed them as soubrettes in triple harmony, but today they're more likely to be described as 3 fair old salts. But I will restrain myself and simply say, ladies and gentlemen, Sweet Substitute.
we're in the money. We got a lot of what it takes to get along. We're in the money, the skies are sunny. Oh man, depression, you are through, you done us wrong. We never see a headline by the bread line today. And when we see the landlord, we know that we can't fail. We're in the money, come on my honey. Let's spend it, let it, send it, rolling right along. Gone are my blues, gone are my tears. I got good news to shout right in your ear. The silver dollar has returned to gold. With silver you can turn your dreams to gold. We got a lot of what it takes to get along. Yeah. We got a lot of what it takes to get along. Yeah. Wah-doo-la-doo, whoa, whoa. Oh man, depression through, God, you done us wrong. Yeah. Oh man, depression through, God, you done us wrong. Yeah. Wah-doo-la-doo, whoa, whoa. We never see a headline about a red line in the paper today. When we see the landlord, we don't worry. We know that we can't pay. We're so happy, trouble's gone. Everybody singing a happy song. Shout, shout, all day long. We're in the money now. Rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. We're all in the money now.
Thank you, sweet substitute. In fact, that song came from the 30s, but as my agent's listening to you, the 20s. Let's move on now to a less exotic copy of the old Radio Times. I noticed in 1944 there was a show called Stars in Battle Dress, and the Army's contribution to that series was Stand Easy, starring a man who's still broadcasting today. He wasn't miserable then, and he's certainly not miserable tonight, because he is cheerful Charlie Chester.
Hello, folks. In this programme, it's right to remember, Auntie BBC's done her fair whack. 60 long years of good service, and now is the time to look back. I remember for sure, in the days of the war, I met a GI in a bar. He was talking to me about hardships. I said, you don't know what hardships are. He stood there, you know, with his medals on show, Purple Heart, Purple Kidney and Bar. He won those for a bad vaccination. They don't know what hardships are. In the desert without any water, not one single drop in the jar, we were 3 flaming weeks without water. They don't know what hardships are. Stuck there without entertainment, until Ensa rolled up in the car. And for 3 flaming weeks we had Ensa. They don't know what hardships are. I was grabbed in the mess by a young ATS wearing only her pants and her bra. And for 3 flaming weeks I was fighting her off. They don't know what hardships are. When the cookhouse had run out of tea bags, we had cenopods dished up for char. And for 3 flaming weeks, it was run for your life. They don't know what hardship. Oh, yes, I remember those days. It was just before I got married. I remember the wife had to go to Piltdown to identify her father. No, we had a nice, quiet little wedding. Well, the vicar was 96, and we didn't want to get him excited. And she was a big girl, though, and as she walked up the aisle in her white wedding dress, she looked like a side of bacon in the deep freeze. But it was a very nice ceremony. She said, I will. I said, I might. And there was an air raid, so we couldn't. So that's how you like them. But the joy, it was short-lived, you know. I was called up, and I'll never forget standing outside the recruiting office, my calling up papers in one hand and perforating my eardrum with a nail. Oh, you were there, were you? You had a go. There was a poster on the wall, and with a man pointing, saying, "Your country needs you." Then he looked at me and said, "Not you, you." I went in and I spoke to the recruiting sergeant. He was sitting there peeling a banana with his feet, and I was very proud of the way I handled the intelligence question, because when he said to me, "What can you tell me about Damascus?" Like a flash, I said, "It kills all known germs." Then we had to strip off for the medical officer. What an embarrassment. The bloke in front of me was covered in tattoos. All down his front, an enormous palm tree. The MO tapped him on the chest, his coconuts fell off. You've got a vivid imagination, didn't you? I was sorry about the fella behind me. He was a karate expert. Killed himself with his first salute. He was a funny fella, this MO, because he when it came to my turn, he dangled his stethoscope in front of me. He said, "Toss you friends, hmm?" You were laughing. I lost. He said to me, "You've got a very unusual alimentary canal." I said, "Really? What's unusual about it?" He said, "There's a barge on it." And then he got rather personal. Oh, he did have cold hands. And you know they tap you on the knee with a rubber hammer and your leg's supposed to fly up? Mine fell off. But at last I really came into Civvy Street, and that was I was able to get back to broadcasting. And that's when I met dear old Harry Rabinovitz, the maestro here. Now, he's a great musician. Well, you've heard of Hair on a G-string. He shaved it off. Oh, yeah. And as for Handel's water music, he used to carry that around in a bucket. But going back to the war days, that was the time when I wrote several hit songs during the war, and the one that brings me most pleasure, I think, is this one. And if you do know it, why don't you sing it with me? It goes like this. Rainy days don't worry me. There's a rainbow that I can see, and it's waiting for me down Forget-Me-Not Lane. Fortune never comes that way. I'll keep singing a song each day, keeping troubles away from Forget-Me-Not Lane. It's just a heaven they've made, and if you're a stranger there, you'll find a table well laid, and you're welcome to a chair. There's no highbrow etiquette. They're just plain people, and once you've met, they will never forget. Down Forget-Me-Not. Ta-da! Forget.
Charlie Chester, ladies and gentlemen. You know, over the years, radio's produced hundreds and hundreds of different panel games. Well, obviously, we couldn't include every one of them on the show, so we've combined all the ingredients into a special panel game. We were going to call it My Word, Just a Minute. Are there any answers to these 20 questions, or is my music putting you at your wit's end? But we ran out of typewriter ribbon. So we'll just call it Funny You Should Ask for Impressions. And here is your chairman, Barry Took.
Welcome to the most expensive pilot program in the history of broadcasting. It's the panel game to end all panel games, with any luck. Our team leaders are extremely tall. They are Frank Muir and Denis Norden. Now, Denis's partner can remember the cat's whisker when it was still on the cat. Everybody's favourite stinker, ladies and gentlemen, Richard Murdoch. With Frank Muir, we have one of the country's most versatile character actors, the clever Kenneth Connor. Now, our panellists are going to hear the voices of the great names of radio comedy, and I'll then ask them relevant questions. Now, the voices will be provided by Peter Goodwright. Now, Denis, you're going first, so Peter, forward, please.
You know, here in the police station, we don't half get some problems. I mean, look at this. Wanted, Wandering Jake is believed to be lurking in some passage between Yarmouth and Aberdeen. We'll never find him. Oh, my word, look at the time. There's a sergeant's meeting. There won't be a drop left. Excuse me, I must go. I didn't like it.
Thank you, Peter. Well, Denis, that was, of course...
It was, of course, Rob Wilton.
Rob Wilton. Now, do you have any amusing anecdote regarding Rob Wilton?
Well, everybody has an amusing anecdote about Rob Wilton. I have an amusing anecdote about Rob Wilton's wife, who... who Rob Wilton first appeared at the... He was in rep at the Theatre Royal in Liverpool with his wife, Florence, who at that time was so frail and fragile, she always played the girl who was cast out into the snow in the third act. Consequently, every time they came back there, the whole gallery would shout, "Go on, Florrie, cry."
Well, over to Frank now. Peter will give us the voice of another gentleman I'm sure you'll recognise. What I want to know is, what did this fella have in common with the American comedians Henny Youngman and Jack Benny? Peter?
Aye. I was coming here on the bus. The woman next to me, she said, "I think I'm going to be sick." I said, "Blimey, missus, don't be sick in here. It's £5 if you only spit." And the bus stopped. She fell forward. She put her hand right on my stomach. She said, "Excuse me, is this made of ale?" I said, "Certainly not. I only drink Scotch." Hello, Enchilot!
It seems almost daft to ask you who that was, Frank.
Well, Sir Winston Churchill, you know.
Yes, absolutely right.
It's either Sir Winston or Jimmy Wheeler.
Yes, well, it's one of the two. They were so similar. And what was the link with Jack Benny and Henny Youngman?
Oh, well, he played the violin. Well, he sort of held a violin doing most of his act and sort of hit it about a bit from time to time.
Uh-huh.
Jimmy Wheeler, as you know, it was fairly easy to force whiskey between his lips. And he rather liked to drop. And one evening he was doing a charity show. He was top of the bill. And he had a little whiskey or 12 and was sort of leaning against the wall, trying to pick the flowers off the wallpaper, totally incapable of going on. And Ted Ray, who was there, said, "Leave it to me, I'll fix it." And he went over to Jimmy and said, "You were great, Jimmy. You were marvellous. I've got a taxi waiting outside. Off we go home," and persuaded him he'd already done his show.
Kenneth, it's your turn now, but this time we'll give Peter a rest. I had a little stroll down to the BBC archives recently to look through some of the classic radio shows, and I came up with this voice.
Okay, number one, take it steady. Steady. Left hand down a bit.
Well, Kenneth, you've worked with him enough to... There's no prizes for guessing whose voice that was, but who was it?
It's a very old friend, a fellow thespian, Mr. Leslie Phillips in Navy Lark.
Right. And your question is, Leslie said left hand down a bit, but of what?
HMS Trowbridge.
Absolutely right.
The motto of the ship was "Everybody down."
Well, you remember that well. I'm glad you got it right, because actually that wasn't a recorded voice you heard. We've actually got him here in person. Leslie Phillips. Well, the Navy Lark hasn't been on for a bit. Well, not in this country, I don't think. But it's, I'm told it's going on all around the world all the time now.
Yes, it's going on all the time, isn't it, really? This sort
But
of...
no, don't change the subject. I'm talking about the Navy
No,
Lark.
it went on for years. The great joy about radio is that none of us ever get any older. We can go on playing juveniles till we get to the grave.
Yeah.
That was Richard Murdoch.
But the running battle with the Navy Lark was, behind all that humour, was who was going to be the last one to wear glasses. As the years went by. Yeah, I see you've got yours on. Yes, as the years went by, the script started off after 3 years, about here, 4 years, 5 years. And by the end, it was after 17 years, it was right out here somewhere. I won't tell you who won, actually.
It was you, wasn't it? Well, thanks for being our guest, Leslie Phillips. Now it's Richard Murdoch's turn. I'll just wake up Peter Goodwright and get him to do a voice for us.
Now, here's a little riddle me you'll say. Now, what goes peck, peck, bang? And the answer is, the humorous answer, a chicken In the minefield. Oh, yes. Oh, commuting, that's wonderful. Oh,
Crikey. Anyway,
Yes.
Richard, who was that?
Well, that was my old friend who couldn't be here tonight, but he's had to go to Canada. Otherwise, he would have been here. But it's my old chum, Derek Guyler, who worked with me and the men from the ministry. I don't need glasses. I only wear them when I want to see something.
Yes, that sounds like your sort of humour.
I'm not
because...
as short-sighted as my aunt. She's so short-sighted that on a clear day she can just see her glasses. Sorry.
It was jokes like that that made Much Finding in the Marsh the hit it was. You worked in that show, of course, with Kenneth Horne, and you used to sing daft songs in the programme. Now, Richard, would you sing one for us on this?
Oh, I thought you'd never ask.
auspicious occasion?
The words of this song are by myself. The music is by...
Cacciaturium?
No, I haven't caught it yet, but there's a lot of it about. Thank you, Mr. Rabinowitz. When I was young, I often got a pain through eating too much jelly and cakes and elephant steaks and haricot beans and peppermint creams, and in the end, I always just went, yeah. It got so bad my mother had a doctor to concoct a remedy, only semi-detached from Callowell, which would very well cure me, but I used to shout out, yeah. 1, 2, 6, 9, 8, 3. I used to curse my nurse because I knew to make things worse she'd very soon get I'm willing to bet just any odds she'd get cenopods, and of course she did, and I would just go, yeah, yeah. And when they told my father, I knew he would then look rather sinister and administer such a hit upon that I sit upon, and of course he did, and I would just go, Now my song is nearly ended, so the least said soon is mended. What it's all about I don't know. If I don't, I'm sure you won't know. Do your Christmas shopping early to avoid the hurly-burly. That is all I've got today, and so the time has come to say good night. Phew.
Thank you, Richard. Denis, here's Peter now to give us the voice of one of the truly great greats of radio, for that matter, television.
Stone me, it's boring in here. Nothing to do. It's all Sydney's fault. Why don't you come round to the pub, he says. The place is throbbing with life. Oh, dear, oh, dear. There's more life in the East Cheam crematorium than there is in here. Oh, I'm fed up. I'm going home. Good night.
And Denis, that was, of course.
Well, even if the voice hadn't been so uncannily exact, the East Cheam reference would have given away Tony Hancock.
Tony Hancock, of course. Well, for this next voice, we better give Peter a rest again. Besides, he'd need the operation to get it right.
Oh, and where do you think you're going, Master Richard?
Frank, what was the name of that character, and what programme did she come from?
We go back a bit here, don't we?
Well, right.
Yeah, it's the maid in Life of the Lion.
Yes.
Aggie,
that's right.
Played by Molly Weir.
Molly Weir, absolutely correct. And leaping onto the stage, quick as a flash, it's Molly Weir in person. Anyway, Molly, lovely to have you with us. Tell us about Life of the Lions.
Well, Ben always insisted in calling me a bloody foreigner.
Well, that was a bit cheeky,
It
wasn't it?
was. The audience used to gasp with absolute horror and dismay, but they soon realised he was only joking, because Ben was the best warmer-upper of an audience I ever came across, comparable only perhaps to the great Ted Kavanagh, who was not only the scriptwriter of It's Ma, but the genius who discovered Frank Muir and Denis Norden.
Weren't you in it, Mark, one stage?
Yes, but I didn't. I was a post-war edition Frank.
Of course.
And you see, I was
As a child.
A child, yes, a child actress. I came down to London, and in fact, I always think I got into it because of Ted and Tommy's love of funny words. They were fascinated with words, just you pair. And I met them in the canteen one day, and Ted said to me, "Molly, do you know what a tatty bogle is?" And I said, "Yes, it's a scarecrow." And within the year, I was tatty in Itmar.
And Ben Lyon thought you were a foreigner.
He did.
Well, I haven't understood a word for the last 5 minutes, but anyway, thanks for being our guest today. Molly Weir, ladies and gentlemen, Molly Weir. Right. Kenneth Connor, it's your turn again. Peter, give us the voice of this person who Kenneth, for several reasons, should have no trouble in identifying.
Thank you very much. I had a letter from the income tax people this morning. Nice people. They don't send a final demand anymore, just a picture postcard of Strangeways Jail. I have to go now because I want to get home in time to throw something nasty at that big ginger Tom from next door.
Lovely.
And Kenneth, Ted Ray, of course. I worked with him in Raise the Laugh for about 11 years. Superb man. Miss him still. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah.
Great chap.
Yes.
Finally, we come to Richard for this last turn. Stinker, you'll recognise this voice from Peter Goodwright instantly.
Hello, playmates. Here and now, before your very eyes. I was watching the cricket the other week, playmates, and a batsman was given out. He went up to the fella in the white coat. He said, "You want your eyes testing?" And the fella said, "So do you. I'm selling ice cream." Having won a little joke. There you go.
Well, I don't think any prize is for guessing that. Who was it? Yes, Arthur Askin. Now, Arthur should be here today, and he would be if he possibly could, but unfortunately he's in hospital. He couldn't make it. But if you're listening, Arthur, we're all sending our very best wishes. We know you'll be back doing this soon, so we're all wishing you all the best.
And now for a free-for-all. What was the name of this character from yet another hugely popular radio show? Denis, speak for everyone.
Well, the character was I believe, called Psyche in The Life of Bliss.
Right.
And played by Percy Edwards.
Percy Edwards, who is with us tonight. You've been at the old wireless bit for many, many years. When did you actually start?
1930, Barry.
1930?
1930 years.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you must have done every type of bird, animal, worm.
Yeah.
Insect.
Yes.
What is the one that you're most often asked to do?
Well, you think a skill of an artist sitting before you, Barry. I can imitate a Death Watch beetle, but all they want me to do is a red stag in the season of the rut.
Well, as long as you can guarantee it won't overexcite our audience here at the Adelphi, would you, on this 60th anniversary of BBC Radio, give us the red deer in rut?
I will, and I hope I don't upset the little deers out front.
To give you an idea how effective that was, they've just shot a stag in the gallery. Well, thank you, Percy Edwards. And Percy appeared by kind permission of Barbara Woodhouse. At the end of our contribution to this gala evening, the scores are 60 all round, and you can't say fairer than that. Each member of our two panels receives a photograph taken of them during rehearsals and signed by Bob Monkhouse. And on that note, I shall take my leave of you. My thanks to Frank Muir, Denis Norden, Kenneth Connor and Richard Murdoch for answering the questions so concisely, to Peter Goodwright for the marvellous voices, and to Leslie Phillips, Molly Weir and Percy Edwards for dropping in. I am Barry Took, but I'm no longer and no shorter than I was 10 minutes ago. Keep listening. Goodbye.
Well, it's all happening tonight, folks. Well, I'm afraid some of the people who should have been here tonight couldn't make it. However, lots of them did send greetings telegrams. You've all heard of a singing telegram? Well, this one's a pop-up telegram. It's from Dolly Parton. Here's another one. It just says, naff off. Well, we're sorry you couldn't be with us, Your Highness. But wait a minute, what's this? An all-speaking, all-steaming goonagram. Direct from Fifi's Novelty Emporium and Massage Parlour. A message from an inflatable Eccles and a vibrating Neddy Seagoon.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Spike Milligan speaking, and by some miracle of fate, I've actually found a BBC microphone that's actually functioning. They say the BBC have had 60 years of it. 40 have been mine, during which I've become known as the leper of the light entertainment world, the preparation H of comedy. I'd like to wish you all very well tonight. You all got in free, so you really can't grumble. Harry Simpson can't be here tonight because he doesn't want to be.
I'm right behind you, Milligan. You see? There you are. Take that. Well, it's nice to be here.
I did my first broadcast in 1946. I've been here ever since. Couldn't get out of the broadcasting house. They don't make the doors wide enough. That's the sort of joke that killed BBC Variety, you know. Not doing me any good anyway. Anyway, many happy returns of BBC, and long may your lum reek, whatever that may mean. I'm not feeling lum in my life. Oh!
Talking of peculiar noises, at this point we were hoping to have the Bee Gees. That still could be the case, because we have a group who sound just like the Bee Gees. Police, the Human League, or anyone else they fancy. The stars of BBC's Radioactive, the Heebeegeebees.
The golden rays of golden sun fall on your golden hair, and I brush aside the golden sheet and see you golden there. And I wonder what you and I are going to do all day. But I can't think of anything I want to do or say. And so I'll have to do what I did yesterday.
And sing you meaningless songs in very high voices
with 1,000 violins.
Meaningless songs in very high voices
In a pair of high jeans.
Meaningless songs in very high voices
And whatever that means. The world is very, very large, and butter is better than march.
And love is better than hate. The world is very, very big, and bacon it comes from the pig.
But if you are really want on my plate,
So I sing you meaningless songs in very high voices.
and then a little scream.
Meaningless songs in very high voices.
Peaches
When we scream. Meaningless songs in very high voices.
until the record ends, and when it does, we'll simply start again.
Yelling meaningless words. Meaningless words. Meaningless words. Meaningless
Thank you, the Heebeegeebees. All right, lads, you can untangle your wife runs now. Mind you, they're not the only ones with high voices. If you were listening 30 years ago, every week you could have heard the high-pitched voice of a very naughty little boy. No, I don't mean Oliver Reed. Or Jimmy Clitheroe. Tonight I'm talking about a young man who hasn't changed in 20 years since his last broadcast, and neither has his fee. Here with his long-suffering guardian, Peter Brough, is Archie Andrews.
Educating Archie, what a job for anyone.
Well, Peter, it's marvellous to see you again after all these years.
Oh, thank you, Roy. It's marvellous to be here for this wonderful occasion. You're supposed to be talking to me, you know. Archie, please. We're in the presence of the star of one of radio's most popular series today. Haven't you heard of the news headlines? Good heavens. Here, don't you look different in close-up, Miss Leeming?
I'm not Jan Leeming.
Archie, now do behave yourself. Oh, Brough, do stop it. You know, Roy, I've had to put up with him for 20 years, ever since my last tutor left. I think Mr. Hudd would make a great tutor for me. You know, Archie had some very famous tutors, Roy. There was Max Bygraves, Dick Emery, and Harry Seacombe, and Benny Hill.
Yes, I wonder what happened to them.
Well, you stick with me, kid, and I'll make you a star.
In that case, there's not a moment to lose. Archie, now if I hold 5 snooker balls in one hand and 6 snooker balls in the other hand, what have I got?
Ruddy great hands. Archie, do behave yourself, please.
Well, at least it was cleaner than the answer I thought he was going to give. Now, Archie, what do you call playing truant?
Oh, AWOL.
Absent without leave.
No, away with the old lady.
Western Brothers, 1933. And at the end of that round, Archie Andrews, you've scored no points, didn't pass anything, but you didn't half give some silly answers.
Oh, that's
But there's
good.
one thing I've found out. I'm a lousy tutor. I'll never succeed in educating Archie.
Here I say, what a great title for a show. I wish we'd thought of that 30 years ago. Well, cheerio, Roy, and thanks for asking me tonight. That's very nice, Archie. Yes, Brough, you said it all very well. Good night, folks. Cheerio. See you again soon. Bye-bye.
Good heavens, it's a spaceship landing. There's no expense spared on this show, you know.
Excuse me. I'm Arthur Dent, and I was wondering, is this the planet Earth?
Yes.
Oh, thank God for that. Then you must be human.
No, I'm an equity member.
Oh, that'll have to do. I'm so relieved to be home at last. I've been hitchhiking halfway across the galaxy.
Isn't that a coincidence? I'm halfway through eating one in my dressing room. Who's your friend?
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have introduced you. This is Marvin, the paranoid android.
I think you ought to know I'm feeling very depressed.
His batteries are going flat.
You too?
No, just Marvin's.
You little tinker. Well, you computerized dusty bin, what can I do for you?
Daleks.
That's nice, isn't it? Go and wash your mouth out with Brasso. Go on.
What we'd like to know is, could you direct us to ITV?
Certainly. Just go out through the stage door and follow the rest of the cast.
I've got a job as a stand-in for Metal Mickey.
Oh, that's great.
You've obviously never seen the program. Very depressed.
Well, never mind, Marvin. On the way, we can drop in on Brideshead. It's about time it was revisited.
Yes, you should be due for some repeats. Incidentally, what does Marvin think of the show so far?
Rubbish.
Our finest critic. Good luck to both of you, ladies and gentlemen. From the award-winning program, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Simon Jones and Marvin the Robot, alias Stephen Moore. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You know, I was in one of those episodes. I didn't understand a word of it, honestly. And digging into his +4s, Roy produces another telegram. Oh, good. This one's from Jimmy Edwards. Would love to have been there, but I'm having trouble with the euphonium. Jimmy, of course, is always associated with Take It From Here. But we do have the other 2 stars of the show here tonight, Ron and Eth in person. Of course, June Whitfield and Dick Bentley. And you know, I've always wondered how Ron and Eth first met.
Just coming.
Good evening. Are you the gentleman in the cinema to whom I sat next?
It's a girl. Go away, I'm all alone.
But it's about your cap.
My cap?
You left your cap under the seat when you went. I saw your address inside, so I took the liberty of bringing it straight round.
Oh.
I do hope you were up.
Up what?
I haven't got you out of bed, I mean.
Oh. Did you say I was the one sitting next to you?
Yes.
Then you must be the one who was sitting next to me.
Well, yes, that's right.
Yes, that's right. You'd better come in.
Come in? Well, I am rather soaked. Perhaps I'd better dry off a bit. Thank you.
Through here.
Oh, thank you. Weren't you with that stout gentleman who kept blowing down his straw during the love scenes?
Yes, that's my dad.
He must be awfully good company. Shall I sit on the sofa?
If you like. We had pilchards for tea.
Oh.
Do you come here often?
You know, I hope you don't mind my saying this, but in the pictures I could only see your profile. I thought you were much darker skinned.
I'd been eating a chalk ice.
You eat a lot in the pictures, don't you? I could hear.
I only eat mixed nuts and a chalk ice and a butter kissed and my chewing gum and an apple during the adverts.
I like eating in the pictures too.
Do you?
Oh, yes. Except to Betty Davis.
I never tasted one of those. What's your favourite flavour of the month?
Neolopiton.
That's mine too.
Is it?
Yes.
Well, isn't that strange?
Yes.
There's me just happening to find your cap, and then it turns out we both like Neolopiton ice cream. Sends a shiver up your spine, doesn't it?
If you eat enough of it.
By the way, I don't believe I mentioned it. My name's F.
F?
How about yours?
No, mine isn't.
See if I can guess what your name is. You look like a Charlie to me.
My name is Ron.
Oh, that's nice. It's masculine, isn't it?
No, it's Glum. Ron Glum.
Oh, Ron.
Yes, F?
Ron and F. Funny. The two names seem to sort of go together like Romeo and Juliet.
Or tripe and onions. Give us a kiss, F.
Oh, no, Ron. On our first meeting, I could...
Just one. We've got to start sometime. Roy, we'll have to be going now. I'm taking June to the pictures. We're going to see The Thing.
Yes, it'll be nice to see Jimmy again.
Well, thanks for coming along tonight, June Whitfield and Dick Bentley. Well, and incidentally, the parts of the door and the doorbell were covered by Miss Martha Knight. And the parts of Miss Martha Knight were covered by the BBC frock. The BBC frock, that's the one with the very small checks. If you wait, they'll always come to you, Roy. That's what they told me. Now, when they come towards me, I start getting worried, but there we are. More telegrams here, though, folks. Here's one. It's from Lord Grade, but I can't read what it says because it's covered in cigar ash. The message was, hope the show's a success, I've just bought the film rights. Of course, in the 40s, the difficulty was buying anything, what with rationing and shortages. Well, let's face it, if you wanted anything in those days, you had to find a spiv, didn't you? And we've found the greatest wide boy of them all tonight, David Hatch. No. Ladies and gentlemen, the prince of the wide boys, Arthur English.
Stop the music! Stop! Oh, you stopped it. I've been robbed. Oh, there it is, me jumper. Mum, they're laughing at me again. Thank God. How'd you like the whistle? Do you like the suit? Ain't bad, is it? Borrowed it off my mate Harry. You know Harry? He used to be a meteorological officer. He can look at a girl and tell weather. He can tell. Yes, it could be all right. Anyway, matter of fact, he's got don't laugh on your own, altogether or not at all, Peter. He's got a lovely job. He's got a job as a furniture salesman selling furniture. Because that's what they do, furniture salesmen. I thought I'd tell you, don't keep scratching, I've just swept up. Anyway, he was so thrilled to get a job as a furniture salesman. He celebrated, took a lady out, did it all wrong, got a French lady, and she couldn't speak a word of English. But how he managed, you've got miles in front of me. I'll tell you what he did. He got a sheet of notepaper. On this paper he ordered a taxi, showed it to the French lady, she nodded, and he went out for a ride in a taxi. Wasn't that marvellous, eh? Then he wanted to take her out to dinner, so he brought a knife and a fork and a plate, showed it to the French lady, she nodded, and they went out to dinner. You're sitting very quiet down there. You're miles in front of me. And then the French lady snatched the paper away from Harry, and she drew a bed on it. Do you know, even to this day, Harry doesn't know how she knew he was the furniture salesman. What's going on with this again? I'm not a comedian, I'm a rememberer. Listen, you don't need the glasses. Anyway, hello, there's a black line on my skirt. What's my thumb? I was walking down. Don't take any notice of me, you're going to be mad in this game or I should go balmy. I'm walking down the street the other day, there's an old lady walking in front of me. She comes to tumble, ace, king, queen, jack, on the deck, I'm behind, I want to help her, see? Open her handbag, give her a bit of fresh air. She opened her eyes, she said, where am I? I said, map of London, lady, Harbour Crown. Yeah, well, I was with the barrow at the time, you see. I'm flogging the oranges. A lady came up, she said, excuse me, how much is the oranges? I said, 7 a bob. She said, I'll have a bob's worth. Within a couple of seconds, she came straight back. She said, how much did you say them oranges was? I said, 7 a bob. She said, you only gave me 5. I said, I know. 2 of yours was bad. I wouldn't swindle you. I threw them away. Did that one backwards. I was lucky to get a laugh on it. And then there was another. Hang on, they're laughing on the side. I'll just take a bow. And then there was another fella come up and bought some walnuts. He came straight back. He said, look, these walnuts are just broken up. All I got inside is a miserable-looking kernel. I said, well, don't tell me. Phone up the War Office. They might be looking for it. Well, I was in Whitehall at the time, and there's an American gentleman came up, and he said, excuse me, I'm doing London, which is very little answer to that. And he said, I'm doing London. Can you tell me, is this Whitehall? So I said, yes. He said, tell me, which side is the War Office on? I said, ours, I think. He said, which is the quickest way to the Tower of London? I said, kick Princess Anne's horse. No, and then the guy came up to me, he said, tell me, are you a member of the Spivs Union? I said, Spivs Union, what's that? He said, well, tuppence a week, you come into full benefit. I said, full benefit? He said, yeah. You go down the Labour Exchange, they offer you a job, we fight your case for you. I go up and down the Labour Exchange all the time. I'm a founder member, and no, but it's lovely, all these clubs around where I'm working, they're very nice. You know the clubs, like 12 o'clock at night, you go to there's a big thick door, you bang on the door, a little grill opens, and the bloke says, hello, he said, CID, and the fella says, come in, Sid, and he said, I got a black Muir out there, he said, bring her in, there's no colour bar here. No, it's all happening outside the police station, big notice the other day, man wanted for robbery. My mates applied for that. And then there was another one, right across Piccadilly, drink Canada dry. Harry's going out to do that. No. We're a very travelled family, I'll tell you. My sister was in the ATS during the war. She went out to to Egypt as an ATS, came back as a mummy, and went to France, went out with everything, Tom, Dick and Harry, came back with a load of francs, because I was in the war, you see. I was in the war, I fought like hell, but they made me join in the end, and because it was different when I joined the army. When I joined the army, the doctors used to come up and they'd stand there, take all your clothes off, stand there, strip down and beat your neighbour out of doors, and they'd come up and they'd touch you. If you was warm, you were in. And then then you had 2 doctors. One looked down one ear, one looked down the other. If they saw each other, you got a commission. I was stationed quite near here, actually, when I was in the army, and I met some people, what they call 3 generationables, you know. There was a boy and his father's father, all living in the same wigwam. And one night, the little boy, Rodney, went out and never came back till 11:30 at night. 11:30! His father waited up for him. When he came in, he said, here, Rod, because he knew him, and he said, listen, When he got introduced at birth, he said, where do you think you've been? It's 11:30. He said, I've had a marvellous night, Papa. I've been out with one of these land army girls. Oh, she went half passionate. So the next night, his father tumbled, gets the bike out, borrows some clips. He never got in till 5:30 the next morning, and his father, no, well, I'm under the earth. His father came and said, where do you think you've been? He said, I went like a Rodney. I went out with a land army girl. He was right. Oh, she went half passionate. The next night, Granddad went out. He never came back at all. 3 weeks later, he came crawling, walking. They fought him back in the wheelbarrow. And his son said, where do you think you've been, Pop? He said, I've been like you two tearaways. I went out with a land army girl. Oh, she went half patient. Mind you, I would never argue about it, because it's only about that thick, you see, but it doesn't matter, providing you put the pin here. But if it's bent, it's got to come round the other way. They say, timber, hit it on the back of the box of matches. Well, they're coming down because it's green, but you don't see it, and you're going like that. Well, he come out, and you frighten the life out of you, because as you go down, and you thread it, and it comes into the... I don't know what the devil I'm talking about. Play the music, open the cage!
Thank you very much indeed, Arthur. And now for me, folks, the absolute pinnacle of tonight's séance, a brilliant radio show with which I have more than a nodding acquaintance.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, coming to you live from the Yucca Tree Cactus Grove and Coconut Festoon mezzanine floor of Terry Wogan's Money Belt, BBC Radio unashamedly presents the news headlines Diamond Jubilee Awards Show. And here with his two favourite stringers, Alison Steadman and Chris Emmett, is your host, the man who once joined the Navy to see more of Victoria Principal's bedroom, Mr. Fleet Street himself, Roy Hudd.
Thank you very much indeed, folks. Nothing like a surprise appearance, is there, really? And welcome to this, the world's most prodigious lineup of Moss Bros suits ever assembled since Lord Delphon's bar mitzvah. So let's get the ball rolling. Here to read out the first nominations are Their Royal Highnesses, the Prince and Princess of Wales.
Thank you.
Golly gosh. Oh, do be quiet. There's a good chap. Oh, coochie coo.
The nominations for the most outstanding performance are... Do try and keep him quiet, dear.
I'm trying.
Well, why don't you feed him or something?
Oh, well, look, it's not my fault, is it? It was your idea to bring Mark Phillips along with us. Quiet.
Nominations for the most outstanding performance are Marine Commando Major Snowy Frampton, who, without regard for his own safety, single-handedly managed to find his way out of the Barbican Centre.
Miss Jan Leeming, for hosting the Eurovision Song Contest without an anaesthetic.
The Buckingham Palace security guard, who said, things seem quiet this morning, I think I'll take the corgis for a walk.
And the winner is...
The winner is Arthur Scargill's hairdresser, for the incredible way he can make 8 strands of wispy hair look like a crown of Weetabix.
And because of prior commitments, Arthur Scargill can't be with us tonight. Thank God.
And now we come to the award for the outstanding musical performance, and to present it, that star of stage and screen, Toyah Willcox.
Hi.
And that star of rage and scream, the Reverend Ian Paisley.
Hello there!
With subtitles for the deafened.
And the nominations for the outstanding musical performance.
Just a minute, Toyah. I think I'd better read out the nominations.
Why's that?
You're drowned in the front 2 rows there. And the nominations for outstanding musical performances are...
Charles Aznavour,
She may be the face that I adore.
For recording a hit song while driving a fit on over some cobbles.
Miss Kate Bush! For finding the soap. And the winner is Barry Manilow for his latest smash hit recording, Blow My Nose, You're Nearer Than I Am. Well done, Barry.
See you soon, folks.
Good night, everyone. Fight the good fight with all thy might. I shall to not to the moon. And now to present a special award, Sir Robin Day.
Thank you. Good evening. This special award is for the man or woman who, over the years, has given the best acting performance on the BBC. And to present it with me, somebody who's done so much to boost the popularity of the BBC, Miss Noel Gordon.
Prompt.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm a little nervous.
Don't worry, Miss Gordon, you should feel at home here.
Really?
Yes, there isn't a single actor in the building.
Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here to read the nomination is the great, well, not bad, Sir Harold Wilson and his charming wife, Lady Wilson.
If I rule the world, good evening. My lords, at least I think most of you are. Ladies, gentlemen, honoured guests, and of course most welcome of all, your Royal Highness. Oh, I'm sorry, that's my reflection in Mary's glasses. All right, Mary, put me down. Help me read out the nominations.
Oh, joy, oh, glee, the BBC.
Skip the poem, Mary. We don't want to start a stampede. Just read what's on the card, will you?
This is the award for the best acting performance in the BBC, and the nominations are...
Bert Ford for Tomorrow's Weather Will Be Fine and Sunny.
Danny LaRue for his contribution as drama coach on Borgias.
And Michael Foote for his brilliant portrayal of bomb damage in Oppenheimer.
And the winner of Best Performance by an Actor goes to Sir Harold Wilson for 20th Century Remembered.
Well, what a turn-up. You know, people often ask me, especially when I tell them to, what have been the most exciting moments of my life? Of course, the really exciting moments were the sort of thing that never got in the papers. Goodman sorted that. But I think the highlight for me has been the many immortal sayings that I've coined. Sayings like, a week is a long time in politics, but a bloody sight longer in Huddersfield. Stop recording or I'll walk off the set. And, of course, this will not affect the pound in your pocket. Which was absolutely correct. It was when you tried to get it out of your pocket the trouble started. Oh, dear, you should have seen your faces, dear, oh, dear. Oh, dear, there'll never be another. But no, seriously, though, seriously. I'd like to leave you with something my father once said to me when I was just a little boy. I'll never forget it. He said, "This is my chosen son in whom I am well pleased." Good night, mortals everywhere.
Harold Wilson, folks, the man who created so many short piers, but unfortunately never took a long walk off any of them. That's all for the news headlines, but thanks to Chris, Alison, our writers, Laurie Rowley and Andy Hamilton, and the BBC for 60 years of professionalism, 60 years of excellence, and 93 years of Jimmy Young. That's all, folks.